Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name is Keith and I'm sure glad you stopped by today. In today's video, we're going to do an oil change on a 2001 Ford Taurus. So if you're ready to get into it, let's go. So let's go over just some equipment. I definitely like to have my safety glasses anytime I'm working out here just to protect my eyes. I use a headlamp. This vehicle takes 5 quarts of oil, so we're going to use SAE 5W20. That's what the manual calls for, high mileage, 5 quarts. And we're going to use this Fram oil filter pH 3600 Extra Guard. We're going to be using that. And tools we're going to need, basic stuff. I've got a light just to help me. We may need these. If we do, I'll show you that. And we're going to need just a standard ratchet and some sockets here to get that drain plug off. Let's get into it. So this particular Taurus sits very low to the ground, and we got to get under there to get to that drain plug. So what we're going to do is jack up this side of the vehicle. This is the passenger side. We're going to jack up this side of the vehicle, support it with jack stands so we can get under there safely and remove that drain plug. Since we're going to be jacking up the front of the vehicle, let's go ahead and add us some wheel chocks to these rear tires just to be safe. We'll come in and chock the passenger side. Make sure that chock is positioned in there. And let's go ahead now and chock the driver's side. Yep. So we've got our chocks. So we've got our wheel chocks positioned. So now I'm on the passenger side of the vehicle and I'm just looking at the pinch weld of this vehicle, seeing where I want to position my jack and my jack stand. I think I'm going to put my hydraulic jack right here. And then I'm going to sit my jack stand right here in this slot on the pinch weld. All right, let's get set up and we'll be back. Just positioning this hydraulic jack on here, making sure I'm making good contact with this pinch weld. That's what I'm doing right now. Yep, very good. That's where I want to be. Checking to make sure I'm solidly on there, and I am. So let's go ahead and get this lifted up in the air. And again, we're doing this just to make it easier for us to get under there and get to that drain plug, because this vehicle is just so low to the ground. All right, I think that should be good right there. Now, get my jack stand. Come under here. Go up just a little bit more. Let's take it just a little bit higher here. Okay. All right. So now I'll bring you down here with me. You can see what I see. So now what I'm going to do, I want to put that vehicle right there on that notch. So I'm going to twist off, come down slow. Very good. And I like leaving a little resistance on this jack just as a backup. So we're going to leave our jack in place as a backup, and we have our jack stand in place. So let's move on to the next step. So I'm inside the vehicle now, and I need to go ahead and pop this hood. Here's our hood release. So let's pull it up. All right, let's get our hood popped. Okay. So you see off the bat, see this hood won't stay up. So you see how we're having a problem keeping this hood up, and that's why for times like this we're going to use our vice grips to keep this hood up. So this is a good hack for you if your shocks happen to go. Take a pair of vice grips, get it adjusted, tighten down on it, give it a test. Very good. That's going to keep that hood up for us. Here is your oil cap. When we go under there to remove the plug, just to make the oil flow better, let's go ahead and remove this cap. And what this is going to allow is for air to come in and help push some of that oil down there out. Okay, let's move on to the next step. So before we go underneath to remove the drain plug, I have a piece of cardboard and I have two drip pans here. This is going to be our big one that's going to catch the oil coming out of the oil pan after we pull the plug, and we're going to use this one here to catch the oil that comes from the oil filter once we pull it. So now let's get this and slide it under the vehicle. Okay, so what I'm doing now is just taking this and sliding under the vehicle. So this is what I'm looking at right now. That's going to be our oil plug there. We're going to have to remove it. So we've got this positioned right below it, and this is positioned right under our oil filter that's above here. Let's go get our ratchet and a socket and get that plug removed. So that's your view right there. We're hooked up with a 16 millimeter socket. I'm gonna try to hold this camera, get you a view while I do this. So that's our 16 millimeter. Gonna hold it back here. So we're hooked up now with the 16. Hooked up with our 16. Ratchet. We got our pan position right underneath it. There we go. Starting to come off. Be careful with this oil. It could be hot. It's actually a good thing because it flows out better, but you could burn your fingers if you're not careful. So let's go ahead and remove this by hand. This isn't too bad. Let's go ahead. There we go. So that's it. Let's let this oil drain out and go back up to the top side. All right, next thing we have to do is get this oil filter out. So let's go ahead and get going here. So I am on the driver's side right here. And what I'd like to do in order to get this out, the starter is right below this oil filter, and I don't like to get any oil on that starter. So what I like to do is get me a rag and set it right there underneath to catch some of the oil that's going to come off with this filter. So with my right hand, I'm gonna put it on this filter, and I'm turning this counterclockwise like that until it turns. And down below, we have positioned our catch pan right here, so that our smaller catch pan, so that any oil that comes from us taking this filter off will drain in there. And that's how we're set up. Go ahead and remove this filter. Coming off nice and easy. Okay. There we go. So here's our old oil filter. Now here's the larger drip pan. I've swapped places down below, so the smaller drip pan now is underneath the oil plug, and we're going to take our oil filter and set it right here. This drip pan has a little place for the oil filter to where it can be elevated and let this oil drain out of here. So let's put it right there and let that oil drain. And we're going to replace this oil filter gasket that was on this oil plug. When I looked up before removing the drain plug, I noticed there was some oil that looks like it had been leaking a little bit. And because I'm the one who services this vehicle, I know this plug has been on there a while. I think it may have lasted 2 or 3 oil changes. So you're looking at the oil pan now. We're down to a really slow drip. So I think we're good now to go ahead and get this new filter put back on. So one thing you want to do with your oil filter gasket is lubricate this gasket real good. So one way you can do that is that this is the old gasket. Just put them together, give them a good rub, and now what we've done is just lubricated this new gasket, so we're not putting this on dry. Give it a good wipe. I'm going to come down here this time. Since I'm turning clockwise, I'm going to come down here with my left hand. Make sure I'm on those threads. Get situated. You might have to find it. May take you a couple tries just to get it situated in just right. But once you do, like right there, we found it. So I'm just going to get it tight. It's going on nice and smooth. You don't want to force these on here because you can mess around and cross thread them and strip those threads, and it's not much thread material on them anyway. So make sure you keep that in mind. I'm going to come in now and finish it off with my right hand. I like to snug them up, not too tight, but make contact, don't kill it, just like go a little snug. Yep. That's good right there. I think less is more when it comes to oil filters. You don't want to kill them and go too tight, but you just want to snug it up. Perfect. So this is what the final view looks like with that oil filter on there nice and snug. So now I've got my drain plug here with my with the new gasket put on, and we've got our ratchet and our 16mm. So let's go back underneath the vehicle and let's put our plug on. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is start it off by hand, threading this on here, kind of clockwise. Very good. We want to start tightening. Now these things do have a torque spec, and you're free to go ahead and look up yours and follow the torque spec. But when you've done oil changes enough, you can feel where it is. You don't want to over tighten these things. So Because what's going to keep that oil from leaking, a lot of it's going to fall on that gasket that we put in there. So you really want to tighten it enough where it's snug, where you've crushed that gasket and it's making good top contact with that bolt, that plug, and the surface of the oil pan. So right now, I'm giving it a little pressure and I'm snug. So after I do that, I'm gonna go a little bit more. And that's perfect. That's good. You don't want to kill these and over tighten them and strip out this this pan. So we're gonna call that good. So I'm gonna wipe off. I like to have a clean surface after I put this plug on. I'm gonna get a little rag and wipe off this surface. And then if we have any leaks of any kind, we can tell because we don't have all this residual oil on here. So that's a good thing to remember is once you put the oil plug in here, wipe it down so you have a clean surface, and it'll help you find any leaks that may pop up on you. So let's just check over our work and discuss where we are right now. So like I told you before, I've come in here with a rag and I've just wiped off this residual oil on that plug. So if we have any leaks, we should be able to tell because that thing is clean now. Okay, done that. Now let's go to the top side. So now if we go back to the top side, just reviewing our work, we've got our oil filter snugged up down there. We're gonna leave our oil cap off until we lower the vehicle, and then we'll put our oil in. So now let's go ahead and move on to the next step. Get this vehicle lowered so we can put in our oil. Go ahead and get it jacked up enough so we can remove our jack stand. Get this out the way. Come down nice and slow. Make sure we don't have anything underneath the wheel. Go back up here to the front. Got a tripod over here with a light, so we move it out the way. Look under the vehicle. Make sure the coast is clear. Don't see anything. Let's come on down nice and slow. Very good. Alrighty, so this vehicle calls for 5 quarts of oil. That's what we're going to put in. We got a funnel here. Let's position it like so. Get this seal broken. Yep. And then let's come in, add our 5 quarts. There we go. Just watching it here. As this funnel fills up, I'm just backing off. That's it. We're coming to the end. Go ahead and put this in. Let's go ahead and pull our funnel out. Put our cap back on. Now let's check our oil level. You like to do this with the car on the ground so your car is level. You may get a skewed reading if you have your car jacked up in the air trying to check the oil because it's sitting at an angle. So you want that oil in that pan to be level so you get an accurate reading when you check your oil. Okay? Now, let's go over here to our plug. See that? There we go. Just checking the oil now. When you check your oil, you want to keep your dipstick pointed down. Alright, so when we check our oil, we're pointing our dipstick down, and you want to make sure you come back and you're in the hash marks. And we are. We're in the hashes. Alright, what you don't want to do is check your oil, put it in there, and then you come out doing this number here, right? Which way is the oil gonna flow? It's gonna flow down. So you're gonna think you have oil when you don't. Keep that dipstick down to get an accurate reading on your oil check. Check it multiple times to make sure you're getting the same read. And we are. Oil looks clean. And we're sitting in the hashes. Very good. So last thing we want to do is make ourselves a reminder for our next oil change, and we'll just stick this at the top of the windshield right by the visor. Well, that wraps up the oil change on this one. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Straightforward oil change, really no surprises. Just remember, don't over tighten that drain plug. Remember that. We got it snugged up, just went a little bit more. I've got a few other things I need to do on this vehicle. Just added some coolant, checking transmission fluid, power steering, and I'm gonna go add some air to these tires too and check them out. So thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna send you over to the outro. Peace. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope this video helped you out. If it did, hit that subscribe button and click that bell so anytime we drop a new video, you'll be the first to know. Hit that like button and leave me some comments. I'd love to hear from you. If you're interested in any of the products we used in today's video, we'll leave some links down below. Hope you have an awesome day, and thanks for watching.